Shabbat shalom, 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 everybody.
Shalom.
Today we're going to do a class on some history. It's going to be on the Feast of Dedication about our brother Maccabees. We want to make sure that we always decent, in order. Everything is in order. Today I'm going to let my brother, well, the scriptures tell us that for us to be leaders and to teach, we have to have gravity on ourselves and on our whole family. Right. Today I'm not worthy of that. So I'm going to let my brother teach this class. So with that being said, go ahead, brother.
Okay. So my brother has set up the lesson is the Feast of Dedications. Right. Y'all understand that we in that season.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna open up 1 Peter chapter 2. Verse 20.
This is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 2, starting at verse 20. Verse 20, for what glory is it if when ye be buffeted for your fault, ye shall take it patiently?
Go ahead.
But if when ye do well and suffer for it, ye take it patiently, this is acceptable with God.
Read on.
Verse 21, for even hereunto were ye called, because Yahushua also suffered for us, leaving us an example.
Doing what?
That ye should follow his steps.
Wait, so he's leaving what?
An example.
So going back up to the top, Christ left an example. I love one of my most favorite scriptures is he was obedient unto death.
Right.
Obedient unto death, right? And he left us an example that we need to be obedient. Guess what? We're not. We'll do something in error, and when we get, as the scripture, go back up to verse 20. It says, when you are buffeted for your faults, right?
Right.
When the Most High is giving us our just punishment for something that we've done wrong, right? We want to talk about it. We want to ask the question, do I deserve this? Did I really? Right? Nah, you're getting buffeted for your fault. You're getting that whooping for your fault, right? Read 20 from the top.
Verse 20. For what glory is it if when ye be buffeted for your fault, ye shall take it patiently?
So that's a question. He's like, you gonna take it patiently, right?
Right.
Read on.
But if when ye do well.
So when you do well, read.
And suffer for it.
You see that difference though? When you get buffeted for your fault, for when you did something wrong, then he said, but when you do well and we get the whooping, right?
Right.
Y'all ever heard the term? I think it's a no good deed goes unpunished, right?
Right.
That's an everyday thing. So we as the people, the children of the Most High, these chosen, these elect, the nation of kings and priests, we get buffeted when we bring out this truth, y'all. We're not accepted. If I was saying, you know what, go be a Muslim, nobody would have a problem with that. They would respect it. If I was like, you know what, you can go be a Buddhist. You know what, you can go be an atheist. How about this? You can go be an LGBTQ. It'll be respected. But with our well-doing, with us telling our people the truth, with us telling our people who they are, with us telling our people, guess what? We're gonna leave nationality out of it, and let's just get to this. With us telling people just to keep the commandments, for some strange reason, we're not accepted. We get buffeted for that, right? So look what he said. For what glory is it if when you be buffeted for your faults, you take it patiently? What glory is it then? Because you did something wrong. You earned that whooping, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what about when you're doing right? That's when he says, look, but if when you do well and suffer for it, right? Take it patiently. This is acceptable with the Most High. Our people have, and I tell anybody this all the time, like my heroes, I grew up playing basketball in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. My hero was not Michael Jordan. My hero was not Magic Johnson. Yes, I wanted to play good like that. My hero has always been Malcolm X, Huey Newton, and people from that era.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? While those people were standing up for us, you know what our people were saying about them then? Man, they crazy.
They're crazy. Yeah.
They some troublemakers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They wasn't even giving the exact truth. Here we are giving exact truth. Like, no, this is what it is. And we're going to be buffeted for it. It's not going to be accepted. We got to be able to do. We got to take that punishment, right? How do we know we got to take the punishment? Read verse 21.
Verse 21.
Mm-hmm.
For even hereunto
Mm-hmm.
were ye called because Yahweh Shai
So we were called because of Yahweh Shai what?
also suffered for us.
See that? Because the very people who we trying to teach, man, if y'all watch these brothers when they downtown or when they outside street teaching, that energy is intense. It's intense, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what you're going to get.
Right. Yeah.
You don't know how that's going to come. But guess what? You try to tell them, like, you the best thing the Most High God ever created.
Mm-hmm.
You a special people. You chosen to be above everything else. We're supposed to be the leaders of this earth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the aggression, the hostility that you're met with, right? It's the same thing. He said, because Christ also suffered for us.
Mm-hmm.
He was met with the same thing by his own people then, right?
Right.
But he did what? Read after for us.
But leaving us an example.
And so he left us an example. We got to be obedient. We got to, what they say in football, we got to stay in the pocket.
Right.
Right? Read on.
That ye shall follow his steps.
We should do what?
Follow his steps.
So we got to follow his steps. We got to stay in the pocket, stick to the script, right?
Right.
And the whole ordeal in us is from the time that we find this truth, we're supposed to be changing, constantly being our better self, our higher self, our new self, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got something you want to?
Yeah, you said something very, very my brother said something very profound. In verse 20, where it says, you shall take it patiently when ye be buffeted for your faults, you shall take it patiently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what we need to learn how to deal with too. When you haven't done anything, or you made a mistake, or you're talking and it don't go right, and take it patiently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I said what I said at the beginning because I'm trying to learn how to take patiently things in my life that I go through, and it's hard to take everything patiently, especially when you're going through it in the heat of the moment. It's hard to
Right.
take it patiently.
Right.
And taking it patiently means be silent even when when you feel like saying stuff. That's what taking patiently.
Right.
That's right.
That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go ahead.
God.
One verse.
Yeah, you want to get 22? Hold on, let me get there.
22.
Yeah.
What 22 goes with it? It's fine. You can write. You can read it. Go ahead, read it.
All right. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 22. Who did no sin,
Mm-hmm.
neither was guile found in his mouth.
So that's in a nutshell.
Yes,
We're supposed to be. That's the example he left for us to follow. We need to follow the example. And what? Well, we're not going to ever accomplish not sinning.
Right.
You're going to make that mistake from time to time, right? But we got to be shooting for that. We got to be shooting for that. He says, no guile found in his mouth. Guess what? That is one of the biggest and easiest ways for us to commit our sins. It's through our mouth, through our tongue.
That's true.
Makes sense.
You know what I mean?
A lot of sense.
You ever think about it? You be mad, you say something. It be in your mind that you know you shouldn't say that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Guess what? As soon as it come out your mouth, you didn't say it, but in your mind, what you thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Damn, I shouldn't have said that.
Right.
Right? No guile in our mouth. I challenge all Israel to work on that. Because we do a lot of slandering of our own people as much as we slander the white man.
We do.
Right.
We absolutely do.
Go to 1 John chapter 2, verse 4. We're going to 1 John chapter 2, verse 4.
And we're going to get into the story today of the Feast of Dedication, but these are things we want to go over to show where our head need to be, even as we read this story. How we need to be and what Maccabee and how where his head was. You know what I'm saying? Before we read this the story. Go ahead.
This is the book of 1 John chapter 2 and verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
He that saith, I know him, and keepeth not his commandments, is a liar.
Read on.
And the truth is not in him.
Right.
But whoso keepeth his word, in him verily is the love of Yah perfected. Hereby know we that we are in him.
Man.
So if you say that you
Man.
know him and you're not keeping the commandments, you are a liar.
Right.
If you're not keeping, sometimes we forget certain commandments. Okay, y'all. Sometimes we do in the heat of being upset, the heat of not understanding, we do forget certain things. That's why we constantly read these commandments over again. Example, how many times shall I forgive my brothers? How many times? It says if your brother sinned against you 7 times in a day and he turns to you and say, I repeat, in the heat of certain things, we forget that. That's why we have to constantly go through these things and read them, because the Father says, I will not forgive you if what?
Your brother.
Was he playing? Oh, he was? Was he playing?
No.
He was playing with what he said.
Yeah, he was very plain, and he wasn't playing. Go ahead.
On verse 6.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're going to read. We're reading to 7.
7, got it. He that saith he abideth in him ought himself also so to walk, even as he walked. Verse 7. Brethren, I write no new commandment unto you.
I what?
Write no new commandment unto you.
So he's saying that what I'm teaching you is not new. This is in the Old Testament. This is the same thing that the brother we're about to read about. This is what he kept. Even though we're talking about Christ, this is the same thing Maccabees kept. He said, I'm not writing a new commandment, which means these things have always been followed. Go ahead.
But in old commandment, which ye had from the beginning.
From when?
From the beginning.
Even in the days of Maccabees. Go ahead.
The old commandment is the word which ye have heard from the beginning. Again, a new commandment I write unto you, which thing is true in him and in you, because the darkness is past and the true light now shineth.
He's only saying that this is new to you. It's not new. He said again, a new commandment. These are old commandments, but if we start walking in them and keeping them, they're new to us.
Right.
They're not new commandments, but they are new to us. That's all on that. You want to start the story, or you just want to get that? It's up to you.
Oh, we can start the story.
Okay, let's go ahead and start. Go to the first Maccabees chapter 4. When you go to the first Maccabees chapter 4, you're going to read about the Feast of Dedications. And it's about the story of Judas Maccabees, a powerful, valiant warrior for the Most High. And we're going to learn about how he got into it with these Greeks or these Edomites, and what he did in that struggle. Go ahead.
What verse?
Chapter 4, verse 1.
Verse 1. This
Wait.
is the
Matter of fact, you want to start at verse 1? Or you want to start? Yeah, start at verse 1.
This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 4, starting at verse 1. Then took Gorgias 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the beast horsemen, and removed out of the camp by night, to the end he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews and smite them suddenly. And the men of the fortress were his guides.
So he's talking about 5,000 footmen and 1,000. Was it 1,000 best men? So this is 6,000 men total, right? Go ahead.
Now when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed, and the valiant men with him, that he might smite the king's army, which was at Emus. While it's yet
So hold on one second. So he heard that this was going to happen. They were trying to sneak on him, sneak in, and he heard this going to happen. So he was ready for the sneak attack. Right? Go ahead.
while as yet the forces were dispersed from the camp. And in the mean season came Gorgias by night into the camp of Judas. And when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains. For said he, these fellows flee from us. But as soon as it was day, Judas shewed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords to their mind.
So a lot of so what he did is he showed them without weapons to their force of 6,000. The dudes were ready to fight. He showed these men without weapons to give the appearance that they didn't have nothing, to make it seem easy, that this is going to be an easy battle for the Edomites to win. Go ahead.
And they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong and well harnessed and compassed round about with horsemen, and these were expert of war. Then said Judas to the men that were with him, fear ye not their multitude, neither be ye afraid of their assault. Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea, when Pharaoh pursued them with an army.
So what he did is he's showing them before they fight. I want y'all to remember what happened with the Moses and the Red Sea and the Red Sea opening, and how the Father came and helped us, and how he came and came to our aid in a battle. Go ahead.
Now, therefore, let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day. That so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivereth and saveth Israel. Then the strangers lifted up their eyes and saw them coming over against them. Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle. But they that were with Judea sounded their trumpets. Judas sounded their trumpets. So they joined battle, and the heathen, being discomfited, fled into the plain.
So they didn't know that these brothers, they could fight too. Because remember, the army of the heathen was well fortified. They wasn't ready for somebody else who could fight just as well as them. That's why I said they fled. Go ahead.
Howbeit, all the hindmost of them were slain with the sword, for they pursued them unto Gazria and unto the plains of Adumia and Asotus and Jemanina.
Remember, I want y'all to remember they didn't have any weapons. Remember, they appeared, he showed himself plain. Judas came out and showed himself plain. And remember, it said no man had no weapons on him. Y'all see that? Go ahead.
So that they were slain of them upon 3,000 men. This done, Judas returned again with his host from pursuing them, and said to the people, be not greedy of the spoils, in so much as there is a battle before us. And Gorgias and his host are here by us in the mountain.
Stop right there. Y'all remember, and I want to say this. When it says host, it says the Lord and his host, or Gorgias and his host, or Judas and his host. What does the word host mean? Say that again. It means army. So when y'all hear host, and some people may not know that. That's why I wanted to make sure everybody understood that. When you hear a host, that is an army of people. Go ahead.
But stand ye now against our enemies and overcome them. And after this, ye may boldly take the spoils.
The spoils is the stuff that's left there after they conquer the people. Go ahead.
As Judas was yet speaking these words, there appeared a part of them looking out of the mountain, who when they perceived, that the Jews had put their host to flight and were burning the tents, for the smoke that was seen declared what was done. When therefore they perceived these things, they were sore afraid, and seeing also the host of Judas in the plain ready to fight, they fled every one into the land of strangers.
So they looked behind the mountain. They had already left. So they looked and they seen the smoke and the burning and stuff. And they was like, whoa. So when Judas and them seen them, they was like, okay, we're going to go get them because we already sent them to flight. Right? So it says they was afraid. So they actually sent their enemies to flight. Go ahead.
Then Judas returned to spoil the tents, where they got much gold and silver and blue silk and purple of the sea and great riches. After this, they went home, and sung a song of thanksgiving and praised the Lord in heaven, because it is good, because his mercy endureth forever.
Remember, when it says his mercy endureth forever, this is the Father bringing them through a battle, just like he did with the Israelites and the Egyptians. So it's the same. It's a different setting, but the Father did the exact same thing that he did for us in Egypt. Y'all understand that?
Sir.
Go ahead.
Verse 25. Thus Israel had a great deliverance that day. Now all the strangers that had escaped came and told Lysias what had happened, who, when he heard thereof, was confounded and discouraged, because neither such things as he would were done unto Israel, nor such things as the king commanded him were come to pass. The next year, therefore, following, Lysias gathered together 70,000 choice men of foot and 5,000 horsemen, that he might subdue them.
Start right there. When he says 70 choice men of war, 5,000, that's 65,000 men to fight. That is 65,000 men to fight. What is a score? A score is 20. So what is 70? Right. So and then 5,000 men, footmen. So he had 65,000 men. Okay, go ahead.
So they came unto Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethsuria, and Judeans met them with 10,000 men.
Now I want to give y'all a synopsis of this, and I think in telling this story, have y'all seen like parades, right? How many do you think 65,000 is meeting 10,000? How many people just in a parameter? Would it take up almost a small city? Just 65,000 people gather. How much would that take up? An army. How many football fields?
About 4.
Say that again.
About 4.
About 3 or 4 football fields worth of people. I'm trying to give y'all a visual, because a lot of times when we read it, we don't get a visual of what we're looking at. So that's 65,000 is a few football fields of men, right? Now, how many do you think 10,000 is? How much room would that take up? Because this is what Judas had. He had 10,000 men versus the Edomite 65,000. So it's 10,000 men against 65,000, right? So they're not supposed to win this battle. Y'all agree? They're not supposed to win. It's 10,000 against 65,000. So the Father has to be in this for them. Y'all understand that? Go ahead.
Verse 30. And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel, who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David, and gavest a host of strangers into the hands of Jonathan, the son of Saul.
So he's recalling history. This is a battle that took place back in history. He's recalling a battle that they were outmatched, outnumbered, and they beat the enemy back. So he recalled that, and he's reminding the people of that, the soldiers of that, and he's praying to the Father. Go ahead.
And his armor bearer, shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power of horsemen, their power and horsemen. Make them to be of no courage.
Make them to what?
Be of no courage.
Read on.
And cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction. Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving.
Stop right there. From 30, chapter 4, verse 32, from 30 to 33, that's a prayer. Y'all understand that? Before they went into battle, the verses 30 to 33 in chapter 4 of the book of First Maccabees is a prayer that he gave to the Most High before they went to fight. Y'all understand that?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Verse 34. So they joined battle, and there was slain of the host of Lysias about 5,000 men. Even before them were they slain. Now, when Lysias saw his army put to flight, in the manliness of Judea's soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly.
How was they ready to live or die?
Valiantly.
That means they were not afraid to die. Go ahead.
He went into Antiochia and gathered together a company of strangers, and having made his army greater than it was, he purposed to come again unto Judea.
So this is the army that was 65,000 that got put to flight by who? By 10,000. So the Most High had to be involved. Go ahead.
Then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary.
To dedicate the what?
The sanctuary.
Remember, before all this happened, when you read chapter 3, the Greeks had came in and they had profaned our temple. They had made us stop circumcising our children. They had made us to where we were going into the mountains to keep the Sabbath day. So they was what they did to the temple at this time. They had to cleanse the temple because they had sacrificed pigs in the temple. That's unclean animal, right? They had also put idols in the temple, Zeus and Nefertiti and the god of this and the god of that, different false idols they set up in our temples. That's why he said, let us go up and clean the temples. Because when you read the earlier chapters, that's what they were doing. And they was killing people for what? For keeping the Sabbath. Okay? So that's why this fight was going on like this. Go ahead.
Verse 37. Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into the Mount Sinai. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate and the altar profaned and the gates burnt up and the shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest or in one of the mountains, yea, and the priest's chambers pulled down, they rent their clothes and made great lamentation and cast ashes upon their heads.
Because back at this time, when we would fast, we would put ashes on our head, we would put on sackcloth, we would make ourselves look, pathetic, and we would pray to the Father in this manner, in a submissive, begging manner. This is how we did. When we get to the New Testament, the Father said, don't do this. He said, anoint your head with oil, pray, go into your closet. So this is the manner that our ancestors fasted and prayed to the Father when they was in distress. When we're in distress today, he tells us to not do it in this manner. Because now we are in slavery, we got jobs, we have things to do. So this is the manner that we did it then. Go ahead.
Verse 40. And fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpets, and cried toward heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as have pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bear out the defiled stones into an unclean place.
So they're cleaning the whole place up. They mowing the grass. They putting up the gates. They even hewing the stones from the blood of sacrifice. They even taking the stones out that got blood on them and putting new stones there. Go ahead.
And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profane, they thought it best to pull it down.
To what?
To pull it down.
So they pulled the whole altar down and made a whole new one. Go ahead.
Lest it should be a reproach to them.
Why? Because there was animals that was unclean being sacrificed on that altar. Go ahead.
Because the heathen had defiled it, wherefore they pulled it down and laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. Then they took whole stones according to the law, and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hollowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offerings and of incense and the table.
Stop right there. What are new holy vessels? What are we talking? What vessels do we have in our temple? Does anybody know? Name one holy vessel that we use all the time. Menorah. Say that. We use the shofars. We use menorahs, right? We have beautiful, things in there like that.
Right.
But they had to remake a lot of these things, right? Because they got pulled down and destroyed. So that's what we put back into the temple. I'm telling y'all this because we have to understand our culture. We have to understand what we do. We have to understand the use of the menorah, the use of the shofar, the use of the things that we have in our temple. Because if you don't say nothing, you say, well, we just got a room with 4 walls in it. It's just a room with 4. We're gonna put some flowers in there. Just some flowers. No, we got a room and we have our culture with our things.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Verse 50. And upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lightened, that they might give a light in the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table and spread out the veils and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Now, on the 5th and the 12th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Caslu, in the 148th year, they rose up bedtimes in the morning and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made.
Start right there. And remember, y'all, part of our culture too is having incense. We've always burnt incense. What was that? John the Baptist's father. Does anybody know what his job was in the temple? In the book of First Luke, it talks about John the Baptist's father. That was a job or an office that they gave somebody to make sure before everybody came in to have the temple smelling good. So John the Baptist's father, his father was an incense burner in the temple, right? So that's just giving you an example of our culture. So incense is part of that. And we have beautiful, just like this right here, like we burnt this, we have beautiful things set up, you know, that we could maybe burn things in. That's our culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Verse 54. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and citharins and harps and cymbals.
What? Dedicated with what?
Songs and citharins and harps and cymbals.
So one thing that the Christian church got right, that songs and harps and musical instruments, that is part of our culture too.
Mm-hmm.
We just take it, and in the Christian church, we take it to we don't really do it maybe in the right manner. I don't know. But having songs, us singing, us praising, the word, what is it? It's not Jacob. The word, there's another word for, is it Jacob that means praiser? I know Israel is prince of the power of God. Jacob is heel grabber, but I think it's one word that's for our forefather that means praiser. We're proficient in praising. Okay. And I think it may be Jacob. I'm not sure. Don't hold me to that, but it's one of our names that means also it's heel grabber or praiser, I believe, because that's who we are as a people. Go ahead.
Verse 55. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the God of heaven who had given them good success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days and offered burnt offerings with gladness and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise.
So it says they kept the offering how many days?
8 days.
That's the dedication. So after, I want y'all to remember this, after this battle, this fight, those people, and he's going to tell you at the end of who these people were. And this is why a lot of times they don't tell you this story. You were never taught this story, because what was Judas Maccabees and his host? What race were they? They was Israelites, but what color you think they was? Same colors as people in this building, right? The people that was defeated, what color were they? Do y'all know? The people that was defeated, the people that were defeated. The people that were defeated, what color were they?
They
were red. They were white. The Bible says they were Idumeans. So a small group of black men beat back a big, gigantic group or army or fortified force of white men. That's why you don't hear this story. Red man. Yeah. Today we call them because of society construct. They're not white. But he's right. They're red. So Israelites be back and forth of Edomites, right. Black people, white people. That's why you don't hear the story.
That's right.
And I want y'all to realize that. I want y'all to understand that's a very important thing, because every time you see a hero in today's society, when you look at Marvel and when you look at what does the hero in every story look like at the end of every story on TV? It's a great white savior coming to save everybody, right? And this story is opposite of that, because a big black dude with a golden sword. Didn't they talk about his Maccabee swords? It was said that his sword had gold on it, and that the Vatican still has the sword of Maccabees. Yeah. And if y'all know what gold is like, if you have gold on a sword, gold is a very heavy substance. So you got to have some muscle to wield a sword that has gold on it. You got to be a vascular man to wield a sword that has gold on it. Okay.
So it was literally brown people versus red.
There you go.
Yeah, that's right.
We gotta get out of that.
And they could fight.
Right. We gotta get out of that custom of calling each other black because our skin is not.
Well, it's
black.
not black, but I'm not gonna say get out the custom of it because this is how people understand.
Right.
So if you can get to the people how they understand, and even in the Bible it says I'm black into the ground. They talk about black, they're gonna learn. So I'm not gonna get too technical because I don't want it to be too technical. I just want to reach the people where they at. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 57. They decked it also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed and hanged doors upon them. Thus was their very gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away.
So reproach was put where?
Put away.
So the reproach was put away, and they were decking or decorating the halls, and they got ready to celebrate. That's what we're trying to get ready to do. We're going to decorate the place that we went out beautifully, and we're going to celebrate. Right? Go ahead.
Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days from the 25th day of the month of Caslu with mirth and gladness.
What is mirth and gladness? What is mirth and gladness? Nobody know what mirth is? Nobody know what gladness is? No, I mean, say that
happy.
It says we're gonna keep this day with mirth and gladness.
Happy.
So we're gonna come together, we're gonna dance, we're gonna drink wine, we're gonna have fun. That's having mirth and gladness. We're gonna get together, we're gonna listen to music, right?
Right.
That's what having I'm showing y'all what they're doing so y'all can understand why we do it. Right?
Yeah.
That's mirth and gladness. Go ahead.
At that time, also they built up the Mount Sinai with high walls and strong towers around about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down as they had done before.
So the Gentiles were still a threat, but this is just a battle that we won. We were going to eventually go back into slavery. Judah being the people to really just go back into it. Because remember, the other tribes were put back in when you read about Rehoboam and Jeroboam of the split with the kingdom, right? And then the northern kingdom, they had their issues. They went back and dealt with their issues. And the last people to actually go back into captivity wasn't it us? Because then another kingdom went first, right?
Yes, sir.
So the last people to go back into captivity, Judah held on as long as they could. We held as long as we could, but we eventually went back into the servitude to Esau. Okay, go ahead.
And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethshura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea.
Against who?
Idumea.
Against who?
Idumea.
When you look up Idumea, those are Edomites. Idumeans are they Greeks, Romans. Those are Edomites. So it shows you who he was fighting. Gabar gonna pull the scripture real quick.
Go to John chapter 10 and go to verse 19. The Gospel of John chapter 10, verse 19.
This is the book of John, chapter 10, starting at verse 19. There was a division. There was a division, therefore, again among the Jews for these sayings. And many of them said, he hath a devil and is mad. Why hear ye him? Others said, these are not the words of him that hath a devil. Can a devil open the eyes of the blind?
So they were talking about Christ. They were saying the things he was talking about, that he has a devil on him, that he's this, of course, like when you're doing what's righteous, they try to say that you're doing bad stuff. A lot of people come against when they don't understand what righteousness is. A lot of people don't come against it because it's going to seem bad, right? It's going to seem horrible, right?
Right.
But watch how Christ continued to bypass that and still keep the law. Read on.
Verse 22. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of dedication.
The feast of what?
Dedication.
The what?
Dedication.
Read.
And it was winter.
So the feast of dedication is always going to be in the month of what they call Caslu, or we call it December, right? And it's always going to be when? At what time of year?
Winter.
So at the winter time is getting close to the time of Feast of Dedications. On the 24th is going to be our first day. This is, everybody's different, but this is our first, this will be our first week of Feast of Dedication, which will be on the 24th. We have a new moon the day after. So what we're going to do is, instead of that new moon, with that Tuesday, we're going to gather. Was it Tuesday or Monday? Is it Monday or Tuesday? It's going to be the feast. The last day of dedication will be the 29th, but after that, not the last day. The gathering, I know, right? The gathering or our party, or it'll be on the 29th. But the day after that is a new moon. And then last day, which would be the 8th day, from the 24th to 8th day, is going to be the last day. And we're going to have the new moon and that together, if that makes sense. Okay? I'm sorry. Go ahead, read on.
Verse 23. And Yahushua walked in the temple in Solomon's porch.
In who?
Solomon's porch.
So this is showing you that Yahushua was keeping what day? The Feast of Dedication.
Right.
So Maccabees ordained the Feast of Dedication after he beat those Edomites back in that battle. And Yahushua was keeping it. And we read in the book of 1 John chapter 2 and verse 4 through 6 that we ought to walk as Christ walked, right?
Right.
So us walking as Christ walked mean we ought to keep what?
The Feast of Dedication.
You see that? Y'all see how easy that is? I'm not a rocket scientist. So why we been going to church all these years and nobody told us that?
Nobody said a word.
And we never even read this, but it's right here in the book.
Right, never read.
It's in the New Testament and it's in the book of Maccabees. And we never read it. Y'all see that?
That's right.
Wake them up. Go ahead.
Verse 24. Then came the Jews round about him and said unto him, how long dost thou make us to doubt? If thou be the Yahushua, tell us plainly. Yahushua answered them, I told you, and ye believe not. The works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness of me.
Stop right there. Y'all see, he was saying that he just went to the temple at Solomon's porch to worship on the Feast of Dedication. When you get dressed up and you show up for the Feast of Dedication, that is a work, whether you know it, like it, understand it, believe it or not. You getting dressed up and y'all saying y'all going to praise the Most High and give him this time and gather with y'all brother and sister. And he said, yeah, how come y'all don't understand what I'm telling y'all? He said, I told you before, how come you don't understand me? He just got dressed up or got ready to go to the Feast of Dedication. Those same works are the same works y'all are supposed to be doing.
Right.
Those are the works that we're supposed to do.
That's right.
Those are commandments, right?
That's right.
Statutes, laws. Those are all these things that we're supposed to do what? We're supposed to keep in their season, right?
Right.
We're supposed to make sure that we keep these laws in their season, you know? And that's what he was trying to, there's a lot of times when you read this, you miss the little details and it takes you out, it takes you from the whole frame of the understanding. You missed a small beat because it told you he was at Solomon porch. It was wintertime. It's Feast of Dedication. And he walked on Solomon porch and it was a Feast of Dedication, right? And then he told them, read verse 25 again.
Yahushua answered them, I told you.
I what?
I told you.
He said, man, I already told you. I'm showing you. Go ahead.
And ye believe not.
And you don't even believe what you're seeing. Go ahead.
The works that I do in my Father's name.
The what?
The works I do in my Father's name.
Go ahead.
They bear witness of me.
Everything you do is going to bear witness of what your mission is.
Yeah.
It's going to bear witness of what type of character you have. Everything you do is not what you feel or what you think. It's the things that you do that count. Right?
Right.
If you're feeling lousy, but you're doing the right thing anyway, okay, that's fine. But as long as you're doing the right thing. But if you're feeling lousy and you're exuding lousiness, that's just what that's gonna be. You're gonna fail your mission. I can feel anything. Y'all understand that?
Right.
But how I choose to respond is a different story.
That's right.
I may not feel like getting up out of my bed every day and going to work, but guess what I got to do? It may be horrible for me to have the thought of having to do extra work, but guess what I got to do?
Work.
But it's not about how I feel as much as it is about what I do. What?
That's right.
How I execute of what I do. Right? Is that only applicable to me? Or is that applicable to y'all?
Everybody.
You see that? Y'all think Maccabees felt like getting up and fighting and doing all this? Do y'all think he wanted that? Or do y'all think he rose to the occasion?
Rose to the occasion.
He rose and did what was required of him.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing you guys are going to have to do. Rise to the occasion. This ain't got nothing to do with what you feel like doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has everything to do with what is required of us to do.
That's right.
So we all have requirements that we have to meet. We all have things that we have to do, and it has nothing to do with what your feelings are. Does that make sense? Con? You got something? All right. Well, you better have something.
Why is that?
He's like, man, why I gotta have something? But that's pretty much all. I wanted to make sure to read the story. I wanted to make sure to get the story out, to read it. I didn't know if we was going to be able to get through it, and it wasn't bad at all. It wasn't a long, story at all. But it's very important to get those details of the story out so that we could understand who Maccabees was, what the fight was about, what we're supposed to do, how is it a law, what type of law, you know what I'm saying, is it, and how we're supposed to respond to, to the story, how we're supposed to carry it out.
That's right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's all, I hope y'all enjoyed the story. I hope the story was insightful, but that's all I got.
That's all we got.
And with that, we say shalom.
Oh.
That's right.
Yeah.